The night was unnaturally silent, the kind of silence that makes your heart beat louder than the world around you. Rain kept sliding down the glass walls of Alexander Road's penthouse, each drop reflecting the distant city lights like falling shards of broken promises. It was past midnight when the intercom buzzed, a single sharp sound that cut through the heavy hush of the room. Alexander, the youngest CEO in the city's corporate world, barely glanced at it, exhausted from endless meetings and hollow victories. But something, maybe instinct, maybe fate, pulled him toward the door. When he opened it, the world he knew stopped. There, on the floor, was a tiny baby wrapped in a soft, fading blanket, trembling from the cold. On top of the blanket lay a crumpled note, wet from the rain. With shaking fingers, he opened it. Only one heartbreaking line stared back at him: "You promised to protect us, don't break it. If you believe in kindness, hope, and second chances, please like, comment, share, and subscribe to Whispers of Kindness. Your support helps these stories reach more hearts around the world." For several seconds, Alexander simply stood there, unable to breathe, unable to blink, unable to understand how the past he had buried so fiercely had suddenly appeared at his doorstep, literally, in the form of an abandoned child. The baby whimpered softly, a fragile cry that pierced the last layers of Alexander's defenses. He lifted the child, feeling a warmth so unfamiliar it startled him. But alongside it came an old ache, an echo of someone he once knew, someone he once failed. His mind replayed memories he wished had died long ago. A girl with trembling hands. A promise made in desperation. A moment of weakness he had spent years punishing himself for. And now, this child. Her child, or their child. He sank onto the couch, holding the baby close as if it would keep his world from falling apart. The note's words kept burning through him, accusing, pleading, demanding something he wasn't sure he had left to give. As the storm raged outside, Alexander felt trapped inside another storm, the one inside his chest. He remembered the young woman he had met 7 years earlier, when he was barely 20 and still searching for his place in the world. Her name was Emily. She worked as a server in a small diner, always tired, always polite, always hiding something behind her fragile smile. He was drawn to her in a way he didn't understand at the time. She was struggling with debts, caring for a sick mother, and living a life filled with fear. One night, after a frightening encounter with someone who threatened her, she had cried in his arms, terrified, shaking, unable to speak. And Alexander, too young, too naive, and too determined to be a savior, had held her close and whispered, "I'll protect you. I promise." But life had a way of pulling them apart. His career took off, hers deteriorated. They drifted, then disconnected. He told himself there was nothing more he could have done. But he never quite believed it. Now, years later, this baby and that note struck him with unbearable clarity. Emily had needed him, she had asked for help. He had failed. And this child, had he failed them, too? Alexander stayed awake through the night, pacing the penthouse with the baby sleeping against his chest. Every corner of the room seemed to echo with the past. He searched for any clue, no number, no name, nothing except that single line and the child's innocent face. By morning, his assistant and security team were alarmed when they saw the baby, but Alexander silenced every question with a raised hand. For the first time in years, he felt something deeper than ambition, responsibility, fear, and a fierce instinct he didn't even recognize within himself. He arranged everything instantly: doctors, supplies, a temporary caretaker. But he refused to let the baby out of his sight. He kept staring at the child, searching for Emily in the curve of the little nose, the shape of the eyes, the softness of the cheeks. The resemblance was faint but undeniable. This child was Emily's, but was the baby his too? The thought terrified him, not because he feared being a father, but because he feared what it meant about what Emily must have endured alone. The days that followed became a blur. Alexander took the baby to work, shocking everyone who knew him as strict, distant, and immovable. The baby softened something that had long been frozen inside him. At night, when the city grew quiet, he would sit with the child and whisper apologies to Emily, to the past, to himself. He hired investigators, searched public records, checked shelters, hospitals, and every possible place Emily might have gone. But the world had swallowed her whole. No trace, no lead, nothing. With every failed attempt, guilt tightened its grip on him. He imagined how hopeless she must have been to leave her baby at his door. How scared, how desperate. The note felt heavier each day. It wasn't just a plea, it was a last cry for help. Weeks passed, and the baby, whom he named Lily, began to laugh, to recognize his voice, to grip his finger with unwavering trust. That trust changed him. He no longer cared about expensive meetings or boardroom wars. His world narrowed to the quiet breaths of the child sleeping beside him. People whispered that the CEO had gone soft. Investors questioned his focus, but Alexander didn't care. All he wanted was to find Emily, to know the truth, to understand why she ran, and to bring her home. One evening, when he returned from work with Lily in his arms, the doorman handed him an envelope. No name, no return address. His heart lurched. Inside was a small photograph of Emily, frail, thin, exhausted, and a handwritten message: she needs help. She didn't want to leave the baby. She thought you'd be better than the life she could give her. There was also an address. A trembling wave of hope and fear surged through him. He drove through the night, refusing a driver, refusing delay, gripping the steering wheel as if the world depended on how fast he reached her. The address led to a small, abandoned building near the outskirts of the city. His heart pounded as he stepped inside. And there, on a thin mattress, wrapped in an old blanket, was Emily. Pale, weak, crying silently the moment she saw him holding Lily. Emily apologized before he could speak. She said she had been sick, homeless, terrified. She said the father of the baby wasn't him, because she never wanted to trap him, never wanted to ruin his life, never wanted him to carry burdens that weren't his. The promise she referred to wasn't about being the father. It was about being the only man who ever made her feel safe, the only one she believed wouldn't let her child suffer. She had left Lily at his door because she trusted him more than she trusted herself. Alexander knelt beside her and realized something with painful clarity. Emily had never asked him for wealth or love or miracles. She had only ever asked him for safety. That night, he carried her, weak but alive, into his car and took her to the hospital. Her recovery was long. Her self-worth was shattered. But Lily's laughter, Alexander's quiet presence, and the warmth of a home slowly stitched her life back together. He helped her heal, not out of guilt, but because she deserved a chance at life, dignity, and peace. And slowly, she learned to smile again. Months later, as the sun set in golden streaks across Alexander's garden, Emily watched him lift Lily into the air, both laughing, both overflowing with a joy none of them had known before. Emily whispered that she was grateful. Alexander whispered that he wasn't going anywhere, that he would protect them, both of them, for as long as he lived. Not because of a broken promise from years ago, but because they had become a family forged not by blood, but by love, trust, and second chances. If this story touched your heart, please like, comment, share, and subscribe to Whispers of Kindness. Your engagement helps us spread these emotional, life-changing stories to more beautiful souls. Special request: before you leave, comment below with one line: kindness still exists.